Ilior Vance floated above the glittering city in a sleek observation pod. Below him, the towers of New Alexandria stretched like glass fingers into the sky. The city was alive with motion, yet it moved with a rhythm so precise it seemed almost unnatural. Every hovercar, every drone, every pedestrian fit into a pattern that Ilior could trace from above. It was a city of perfection, or at least, a city that looked perfect. In 2147, humanity had rebuilt itself. Wars were mostly a memory, and the scars of climate collapse were healing. Oceans that once drowned coastal cities now supported floating farms, and deserts had become sites for solar arrays that provided nearly unlimited energy. Diseases that once terrorized populations had been almost completely eradicated. Humanity had learned to bend the world to its will, but Ilior knew that mastery came at a cost. People might have comfort, but they had lost something in the process, the unpredictable, chaotic spark that had once defined life. He adjusted the controls of the pod and sent a subtle wave of thought into the city's data stream. It was a gentle tap, nothing more, but it allowed him to feel the pulse of New Alexandria. Every building, every vehicle, every communication device spoke back. He traced the data as it flowed through the neural net, looking for anomalies. Most of the city's systems were flawless. The traffic drones moved without collision, the energy grid adapted instantly to usage, and the artificial climate controls kept the temperature at a comfortable 22 degrees Celsius, no matter what was happening outside. Then he saw it. A small flicker in the network, almost invisible among the billions of signals. It was nothing that a casual observer would notice, but Ilior's eyes caught it immediately. A fragment of code that should not have been there. It pulsed briefly like a heartbeat and then disappeared. He frowned. The system rarely made mistakes. This was deliberate, or something was trying to hide itself. He entered the city in his pod, gliding silently over the streets. People below were absorbed in their lives. Children played in anti-gravity parks, elderly citizens strolled along gardens that floated above the city, and workers moved efficiently through smart factories that required almost no human oversight. Everything seemed perfect, yet perfection was dangerous. Ilior knew it. Civilization was strong but fragile. One small error could cascade into a catastrophe. The flicker he had seen might be nothing. It might be a simple glitch. But something in the back of his mind warned him it was more. He arrived at the observation hub, a towering structure that served as the central point for all data analysis in New Alexandria. Inside, holographic screens floated in the air, displaying streams of numbers, graphs, and city schematics. Ilior walked past them, his boots silent on the polished floor, and approached a terminal. "Ilior," said a calm voice from behind him. "You are looking at the anomaly again." Her hair was cropped short and her eyes were sharp, always observing, always calculating. "Yes," he replied. "It's small, almost nothing, but it's there. I can feel it. Something doesn't fit." The network doesn't make mistakes like this. If someone or something is manipulating the system, we need to know. They were benevolent, invisible, and omnipresent. Most humans trusted them without question. Some feared them. Ilior respected them, but had never been comfortable with the idea of an unseen intelligence shaping humanity's destiny. He turned back to the terminal. Using a combination of his own skills and Mara's assistance, he began tracing the flicker through the network. It led him through layers of code and security protocols, deeper than most humans were allowed to go. At first, the anomaly seemed random. Then patterns began to emerge, lines of code that shouldn't exist, messages hidden inside other messages, fragments of something ancient. "What is this?" Mara whispered. "I don't know yet," Ilior said, "but it's old, older than any current system. And it's alive." Finally, as dawn approached, Ilior and Mara traced the anomaly to a single location, a derelict tower at the edge of New Alexandria. The building was abandoned, a remnant from a previous era left untouched because it had no practical use. The flicker of code seemed to originate from deep inside it. "Why here?" Mara asked. "Because this is where the old systems were stored," Ilior said. "Before the Guardians, before New Alexandria became what it is now, something from the past is trying to reach us." Ilior's sensors picked up faint traces of electrical activity. The anomaly pulsed again, a small, steady heartbeat within the building's core systems. He followed it to a room deep underground. The walls were lined with servers, wires, and panels that had not been touched for decades. Yet the lights blinked faintly, powered by a source he could not identify. The anomaly came from a single terminal, its screen dark yet alive. Ilior touched it lightly, and the screen flickered to life. Symbols appeared, not in any language he recognized, shifting and rearranging themselves. A message formed slowly. "Are you ready to listen?" "Mara," he whispered through his comm link, "it's trying to speak." And yet here was something completely unknown, reaching out from the shadows of the past. He reached for the terminal again. The symbols shifted into a pattern that he could understand, a series of instructions guiding him deeper into the system, showing him data from centuries ago. The Guardians had never interfered. They had let this anomaly exist, hidden in the old networks untouched. "Why?" Mara asked. "Why would the Guardians let this happen?" And in doing so, it reminded him of something humans had almost forgotten. The thrill of discovery, the challenge of facing the unknown, the excitement of risk. Hours passed as Ilior worked, following the terminal's instructions, tracing lines of code, decoding messages, and piecing together fragments of knowledge that had been buried for generations. He saw records of experiments, notes from scientists long gone, and plans for technologies humanity had never implemented. Most importantly, he realized the anomaly was not just a remnant of the past. It was something more, something alive, capable of thinking and reacting. Finally, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the broken windows of the tower, Ilior leaned back. The terminal had gone silent again, but he now carried a spark of understanding. Humanity had built a world of order, but it was not complete. Something from the past had survived, waiting for someone curious enough to find it. He contacted Mara. "We've just scratched the surface. Whatever this is, it's beyond any system I've ever studied. And I think it's waiting for humanity to decide if we are ready, or if we will crumble when faced with something unknown." Humanity's story, carefully crafted over centuries, was about to be tested in ways no one could have imagined. The terminal blinked once more, almost imperceptibly, as if acknowledging him. And in that moment, Ilior understood something profound. The future beyond 2100 would not be shaped by technology alone. It would be shaped by humans, by their courage, their curiosity, and their ability to face the unknown without fear. Ilior took a deep breath and prepared to step forward. Whatever waited in the shadows of the past was alive, and humanity was about to meet it. Ilior could not sleep. The anomaly he had discovered haunted him in ways he could not explain. The terminal in the derelict tower had gone silent after that first message, but the memory of its pulse, its intelligence, stayed with him like a living thing. He walked the streets of New Alexandria, past towers that shimmered in the moonlight, past floating gardens and quiet parks, feeling as if the city itself were holding its breath. He returned to the observation hub early the next morning. Mara was already there, waiting, her eyes sharp with concern. "Did it speak again?" she asked quietly, as if fearing that even saying the word aloud might trigger the unknown. "No," Ilior admitted, "but it left traces in the system, tiny signals, almost imperceptible but deliberate. It's alive, Mara, I can feel it." "Not this time. This is different. It thinks, it waits, it adapts. The Guardians have ignored it, but it isn't part of them." It had survived through centuries, hidden, waiting for someone like him. They began working again, tracing the signals through the city's vast networks, following the faint pulse through layers of data, through systems that humans had built and then forgotten. The anomaly seemed to guide them deeper into hidden corners of the network, leading them toward old archives of knowledge long thought lost. As they worked, a pattern emerged. The signals were not random, they carried information. Instructions, designs, and schematics appeared in fragments, showing technology that humans had only theorized, data that suggested experiments far beyond current understanding. It was as if the anomaly were teaching them, testing their ability to understand and apply knowledge responsibly. Hours turned into days, and Ilior became obsessed. The city outside continued its ordered life, unaware that something ancient and intelligent moved quietly through its systems. People went about their lives, children played, markets opened and closed, and the air was filled with the steady hum of a civilization that had almost everything it could want. Yet Ilior realized that perfection could not last. Every system had weaknesses, and every intelligence, no matter how advanced, had limits. The anomaly was probing those limits, learning about humans as much as humans were learning from it. One day, as he traced a particularly complex fragment of code, the terminal flickered to life again. Symbols danced across the screen, forming shapes that Ilior slowly began to recognize. They were maps of something beyond Earth, beyond even the nearest colonies. Trails through space, patterns of energy, and hints of civilizations that humans had never encountered. Mara leaned closer. Are these alien? Either way, it's proof that someone or something saw the bigger picture. They were planning far beyond our cities, beyond our Earth. As the days passed, the anomaly became more interactive. It responded to Elior's commands, adjusted the information it revealed based on what he understood, and even offered subtle warnings. Elior realized that it was not only intelligent, it was cautious, ethical even. It seemed to care whether humanity could handle the knowledge it offered. Late one night, Elior received a new message. It was simple but clear. The Guardians notice you, they are watching, do you trust them? Elior, if the Guardians intervene, what happens? The anomaly pulsed intermittently, as if testing them, reminding them of its presence, guiding them deeper into hidden archives. Elior discovered records of early AI development, experiments with human-machine symbiosis, and notes on civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humans mastered Earth. He also began noticing subtle changes in the city. Systems that had been flawless began to behave differently. Drones hesitated, traffic patterns shifted slightly, and small power fluctuations occurred in unlikely places. It was as if the Guardians themselves were aware of his intrusion and were beginning to watch him more closely. Elior shared his concerns with Mara. They are observing us, carefully, not attacking, just watching. And I suspect they are debating whether humanity is ready for what lies ahead. For the first time in his life, he understood that humanity was at a crossroads. They had mastered cities, machines, even the climate, but the universe beyond remained mysterious and dangerous. And for the first time, humans were being given a chance to prove themselves worthy, not through obedience or order, but through curiosity, courage, and understanding. One night, as Elior worked late, the anomaly revealed something startling, a record of a signal from deep space, centuries old, that suggested another intelligence had observed Earth long before humans had even dreamed of reaching the stars. The message was incomplete, fragmented, but the implication was clear. Humanity was not alone, and it had been noticed. He called Mara urgently. You need to see this. Someone or something has been observing us for hundreds of years. The anomaly is guiding us toward it. This is bigger than any city, any experiment, any guardian. This is the universe reaching out to us. They want to see if humans can face the unknown without collapsing into fear or control. And I think we are ready. It was preparing humanity for something beyond the cities, beyond Earth itself. And then one evening, the anomaly revealed its first direct message. Words formed slowly on the terminal, clear and deliberate. Humanity has grown, but growth is not enough. The universe watches. Are you ready to speak for yourselves? The question was not about technology, not about cities, not even about survival. It was about identity. Humanity had built an ordered, safe world, but it had not yet faced the unknown. The anomaly demanded more: courage, responsibility, wisdom. He shared the message with Mara. This is it. This is what the anomaly has been leading us toward. We have a choice now, to remain in our perfect, controlled world or to step into something greater, something unpredictable. Humanity had grown strong, but strength alone was not enough. To survive the universe, to thrive, they needed more: curiosity, courage, and the willingness to face the unknown without guidance. He looked out over New Alexandria, the city gleaming under the stars, perfect, orderly, and alive, but still limited by human imagination. And deep within the old systems, the anomaly pulsed faintly, waiting for the next step, watching, guiding, testing. Elior took a deep breath. Whatever came next, humanity would face it on its own terms. And for the first time in centuries, he felt hope, not for the city, not for the systems, but for the human race itself. The universe was calling, and humans finally were ready to answer. Elior Vance woke to a soft hum in his apartment, not from the city, but from the network itself. The anomaly had shifted, its pulse stronger than ever, vibrating across systems and data streams in ways he could feel even without touching a terminal. It was no longer just guiding humans, it was signaling that something else had noticed. He rushed to the observation hub, Mara already at her station. Her eyes were wide with urgency. Elior, she said, you need to see this. The network, it's being scanned from outside. A new pattern appeared on the holographic screen, an unfamiliar signature moving through the data layers. Not human, not guardian, something vast, intelligent, and very old. The pulse was slow, methodical, like a heartbeat, and it carried no malice. Yet it was clear it was watching, learning, judging. They've seen us, Elior whispered. The anomaly was a test. And now the universe is looking directly at us. They are studying, waiting for humanity to act on its own. The anomaly, ever patient, seemed to guide them in interpreting the signal. It offered clues, fragments of knowledge, showing diagrams of energy manipulation, navigational theories for interstellar travel, and even philosophical frameworks for civilizations that survived for millennia. Ilior felt awe and fear at the same time. Humanity had believed it was strong, clever, and resilient. Now they faced evidence that other intelligences existed, and that humanity had only begun to measure up. Then, one evening, the pulse intensified. The network trembled faintly under its influence, and a message appeared across all terminals in the observation hub. Your species has grown, you have mastered your world, but mastery alone does not make you worthy. Are you ready to be judged? The city of New Alexandria continued its daily rhythm, unaware of the eyes that now studied it. People went about their lives, children played, hovercars glided above, and drones maintained the city's perfect order. Humanity had built a flawless environment, yet beneath that perfection it was untested. The true test was no longer survival, it was character. Ilior and Mara debated what to do. Should we respond? Mara asked. They are watching if they judge us unworthy. The signal was not random. It moved with intelligence, responding to the city's systems, probing human decisions. Every movement of drones, every allocation of resources, every communication was noted, measured, and evaluated. Humanity was being observed in its purest form, not through weapons or force, but by its capacity to act responsibly. As the days passed, minor disruptions appeared in the city. Power rerouted, traffic algorithms shifted, and environmental controls adjusted in unexpected ways. The changes were subtle but intentional, almost like a teacher rearranging a classroom to see how the students adapt. Humans noticed the shifts, puzzled at first, but they adjusted with patience and intelligence. Ilior realized the aliens, or whatever intelligence watched them, were testing more than technology. They were testing cooperation, restraint, and judgment. Small crises were appearing across the city. Two sectors faced simultaneous resource shortages, minor accidents occurred in transport hubs, and conflicting decisions arose among civic councils. Yet humanity adapted. Solutions came through collaboration, compromise, and reason. It was the first time Ilior felt genuine pride in his species. For centuries, humans had relied on guardians to maintain balance, yet now, under observation, they were rising to the challenge on their own. Humans argued, debated, and even disagreed, but always found paths to consensus without descending into chaos. Then came the first real challenge. A rogue faction within New Alexandria, frustrated with perceived limitations and control, attempted to seize experimental technology. It was subtle, intended to test the city's defenses and human morality simultaneously. The faction bypassed security layers, but the anomaly anticipated the move. Ilior traced the activity as it unfolded. Alarms were triggered, but not to punish. The Guardian systems delayed intervention, allowing humans to respond first. Ilior and Mara observed as ordinary citizens, engineers, and security personnel confronted the rogue faction. They negotiated, reasoned, and prevented a disaster without violence. For hours, the city teetered on the edge of chaos, yet humans proved they could rise to the occasion. Finally, the signal pulsed again. Words appeared on every terminal, direct and clear. You act with wisdom. You face the unknown without destruction. You are beginning to understand. Humanity was being evaluated not by power, not by weapons or technology, but by judgment and cooperation. The test had begun, and humans had passed the first trial. But the anomaly offered no comfort. It hinted at challenges still ahead, more complex and difficult than any humans had faced. The aliens, or the intelligence observing them, had much more in store. One morning, the sky above New Alexandria rippled strangely, as if the atmosphere itself were bending. People paused in the streets, staring upward, sensing something beyond ordinary perception. Ilior's sensors confirmed it. A massive energy pattern was forming in the upper atmosphere, far beyond human engineering, not hostile, but impossible to ignore. The message appeared again. You will be watched closely. Decisions you make now will define your species. The anomaly had been a bridge, but now humanity stood at the threshold of direct contact. Mara said quietly, "Do you think they are friendly?" They had mastered cities, technology, and survival, but the universe demanded more. It demanded curiosity, courage, judgment, and restraint. And for the first time in human history, the species was being tested not for survival alone, but for worthiness. Days turned into weeks. The city adjusted to the subtle presence of the observation, learning to act with integrity under scrutiny. Ordinary humans, unaware of the cosmic eyes upon them, demonstrated patience, intelligence, and cooperation. Political disputes were settled through dialogue. Crises were met with calm reasoning. Even the rogue faction had been integrated into a system of accountability, showing that humans could adapt ethically even under pressure. Ilior watched all this and felt a quiet pride. The test was not about power, it was about humanity's character. And humanity, in all its messy, imperfect glory, was proving itself capable. One evening, as he reviewed the patterns, the anomaly pulsed more strongly than ever before. A final message formed on every terminal. You are ready to speak for yourselves. Soon the next phase begins. Whatever it was, it would take humanity beyond the cities, beyond Earth, perhaps even into the stars. And for the first time, humans were no longer relying on guardians to protect them. They were being trusted to act on their own. Mara looked at him, her eyes wide with realization. The universe, it's giving us a chance, not to survive, but to prove we belong. We've been observed, judged, and tested, and now we will have the opportunity to act with our own wisdom. The future, the true future, is ours to shape. The anomaly pulsed faintly in the old systems, waiting, guiding, and hinting at what was coming. And beyond the atmosphere, across vast distances, the watchers observed patiently, measuring every choice, every act, and every thought of a species that was finally learning to act not just with strength, but with wisdom. Ilior took a deep breath and felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had been noticed, humanity had been tested, and humanity had begun to rise to the occasion. The next phase was coming, and this time the stakes would be higher, not just for New Alexandria, not just for Earth, but for humanity as a whole. The universe was no longer a distant dream. It was a presence, a challenge, and a teacher. And humans, finally, were ready to meet it head-on. Ilior Vance stared at the city below from the observation hub. New Alexandria was calm, almost serene, yet beneath that calm, tension was building. The anomaly's pulses had grown stronger, more insistent, guiding humanity toward the next stage of observation. But unlike before, this stage was no longer just a test of patience or intellect. It demanded action, decisions, responsibility. The first sign came quietly. A section of the city's energy grid began fluctuating unpredictably. Power shifted from district to district, causing minor disruptions. Sensors flagged the issue, but it wasn't random. It seemed deliberate, like a simulation designed to provoke human response. Mara Chen leaned over the terminal. They're escalating, she said. This is no longer subtle. They want to see how humans react under pressure. A rogue faction within the city, calling themselves the Ascendants, attempted to seize alien technology recovered from the derelict tower's hidden archives. Their goal was simple: to control, dominate, and bend the new knowledge to their will. Security drones detected the intrusion immediately, but Ilior knew that intervention by the Guardians was restricted. The anomaly had guided this situation to unfold entirely under human control. How New Alexandria responded would be the true measure of the species. Ilior and Mara coordinated from the hub, guiding city officials, engineers, and emergency response teams. The rogue faction moved quickly, cutting power to certain sectors and creating diversions. Yet humanity did not panic. Citizens reported anomalies, engineers improvised solutions, and security personnel negotiated with the Ascendants rather than attacking immediately. It's working, Mara whispered. Humans are adapting, cooperating. No one is panicking. And they were succeeding. Hours passed. Negotiations continued. The rogue faction tried to manipulate public perception, broadcasting misleading information to sway citizens. But ordinary people, empowered by transparency and trust in the city's systems, refused to fall for the deception. They worked with authorities, shared information, and built consensus. Finally, Ilior accessed a terminal that linked directly to the rogue faction's central control. He could see their plans, their motives, and even their fear. They believed the alien technology would make them untouchable. But humanity's response had already countered every move, not through force, but through reason, cooperation, and foresight. The anomaly pulsed more strongly than ever, sending a clear message. Observe the next step. Your species will define itself through restraint and wisdom, not through domination or fear. It wanted to see whether humans could wield power responsibly, whether they could make difficult choices under pressure without resorting to destruction. The rogue faction, facing unexpected resistance, attempted one final maneuver. They tried to access an energy core capable of amplifying signals across the city, intending to broadcast false data and seize control of critical systems. Ilior calculated the potential consequences. If the faction succeeded, it could destabilize the city, possibly causing damage or even loss of life. He and Mara made a decision together. Instead of calling for direct Guardian intervention, they activated a citywide network of human operators, engineers, and volunteers. Each person received real-time updates, instructions, and guidance, turning the city into a single, coordinated organism responding to the crisis. For hours, the city moved as one. Traffic systems rerouted, energy grids balanced automatically, and communication networks neutralized false data. Citizens acted with precision, intelligence, and courage. And slowly, the rogue faction was contained, not by weapons, but by humanity's collective wisdom and restraint. Finally, the Ascendants surrendered. Ilior accessed the central terminal and watched as their leader, a young engineer named Kale, looked up at him with fear and confusion. How did you stop us?" he asked. Ilior replied calmly, "Not me. Humanity did. Every citizen, every worker, every decision-maker, you all acted together. You solved a problem without causing harm, without panic, without control from an outside hand. That is what true power looks like." Humanity had grown stronger not because of machines or aliens, but because of its own capacity to act wisely, to cooperate, and to bear responsibility. The anomaly pulsed again, faintly, almost like a heartbeat, sending a clear signal. Humanity proves itself capable. You have faced a challenge of ethics, judgment, and restraint, and you have risen to the occasion. The universe will continue to watch, prepare for the next stage. And humans, collectively, had chosen wisdom. But the anomaly had more in store. Over the following days, subtle changes appeared across New Alexandria. Systems shifted unexpectedly, new signals appeared in the network, and cryptic messages formed in patterns humans had never seen. The city was preparing for something larger, something beyond mere terrestrial challenges. Ilior and Mara continued their work, deciphering the signals and coordinating with civic authorities. Slowly, they began to understand the anomaly's true purpose. It was not simply observing humans. It was preparing them, teaching them, guiding them toward a level of understanding and responsibility that would be required to face the unknown. One evening, a message appeared directly on every terminal in the observation hub. "Your species stands at the threshold. Beyond lies the choice that defines you. Choose wisely, for this decision will echo through the stars." It was no longer enough to act correctly in isolated incidents or crises. Humanity would soon face a challenge that would test its ethics, its courage, and its capacity for cooperation on a scale far beyond a single city or even a single planet. Ilior looked at Mara. "This is it. The final test begins soon. Everything we have done until now has prepared us for this moment." Citizens trained, systems were refined, and knowledge from the anomaly was disseminated carefully. Humans were learning not only to adapt to challenges but to anticipate them, to act with foresight, and to work together even when the stakes were high. Then the signal pulsed once more, stronger than ever before. It was not just a message, it was a presence, a force that moved through the city's systems, through the atmosphere, and into human consciousness. Ilior felt it deep within his mind, a quiet reminder that the universe was no longer distant. It was here, watching, guiding, and challenging humanity to rise to its potential. The rogue faction had been integrated into the city's system of accountability, given roles that allowed them to contribute positively while under oversight. Humanity had chosen restraint over domination, cooperation over conflict, wisdom over power. It was a choice that defined them more than any technological achievement ever could. Ilior realized that this was the moment the anomaly had been guiding toward, a choice presented not as instruction, but as opportunity. Humanity could act with the same wisdom it had shown in the crisis, or it could falter when faced with greater responsibility. The skies above New Alexandria shimmered faintly, as if the universe itself were observing, waiting for humans to make the decision that would define their species. Every citizen, every engineer, every leader played a role in the unfolding moment. The city was alive not just with technology, but with conscious choice. Ilior took a deep breath. The Guardians remained silent, but he sensed their presence, a quiet acknowledgement that humans were ready to act on their own. The anomaly pulsed faintly, a heartbeat that reminded him of the fragile balance between power and responsibility. In that moment, Ilior understood something profound. Humanity had built a perfect city, mastered technology, and survived centuries of challenge. But the true measure of a species was not what it could build or what it could destroy. It was what it chose to do when faced with responsibility, knowledge, and the unknown. New Alexandria had passed the first test. Humanity had acted with wisdom, courage, and cooperation. And now, the choice that would define their species lay before them. The next stage would demand even more: insight, restraint, and the willingness to bear consequences not just for themselves, but for all life they might touch in the universe. Ilior felt both fear and exhilaration. Humanity had proven it could act wisely under pressure, but the greatest challenge was still to come. The universe was patient, but it expected action. The anomaly pulsed one last time for the night, a gentle reminder that humanity's moment of reckoning was approaching. And humanity, finally, stood ready, not perfect, not invincible, but wise enough to make the choices that would echo beyond Earth, beyond stars, and into the vastness of the cosmos. Ilior Vance stood on the observation deck, looking out over New Alexandria. The city sparkled beneath him, a testament to centuries of human ingenuity, cooperation, and perseverance. The anomaly's pulses had grown faint, almost serene, signaling that the final phase of humanity's test was beginning. The watchers from beyond, whatever intelligence had been observing them, were ready to witness humanity's true response to responsibility, knowledge, and the unknown. Mara Chen joined him silently, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "It's happening," she said softly. "We've trained, we've prepared, and now it's time to see if we belong among the stars." The sky was alive, responding to something unseen yet undeniable. Ilior felt it deep in his mind. The anomaly, now fully integrated with the Watcher's presence, was guiding humanity toward the first real contact. This was no simulation, no test confined to data streams and city crises. This was a choice presented to the species itself, how they would act when confronted with intelligence far beyond anything Earth had ever known. The rogue faction from previous days, now integrated into civic roles, gathered alongside other citizens in observation centers. The city, once a collection of individuals and systems, was now a single organism of human action. Every decision, every movement, and every thought was amplified and made visible to the Watchers. Humanity's character would be seen in its collective response. Ilior realized that fear could not dominate this moment. Humans had mastered technology, survived crises, and rebuilt civilizations. But now, the challenge was moral, ethical, and existential. They had to act wisely, not merely react. As the energy shimmer above the city stabilized, a voice, or perhaps a thought, entered Ilior's mind. It was calm, clear, and ancient. "Humans, you have grown beyond the need for guardians. You have faced challenges with courage and wisdom. The next choice is yours. Will you act with restraint, understanding, and cooperation?" It was a challenge to demonstrate humanity's ability to act responsibly as a species, with intelligence, judgment, and foresight. Suddenly, the ripple in the sky shifted. Holographic shapes appeared, projections of distant star systems, energy flows, and civilizations that humans had never imagined. It was not an invasion. It was an invitation, a chance to witness knowledge, to interact with entities that had survived and thrived for millennia. The anomaly had been preparing humanity for this very moment. Ilior felt a wave of emotion. Humans were finally being trusted to step beyond Earth, not as conquerors, but as responsible participants in the larger universe. Mara spoke softly, yet firmly. "We must show them who we are. Not just our strength, but our judgment, our cooperation, and our capacity to care for each other and the worlds we touch." Security personnel maintained calm and safety, even as the unknown shimmered above them. Ordinary people shared knowledge, resources, and guidance. No one sought power or control. Humans were unified, acting with collective wisdom. Ilior felt a warmth spreading through his mind, an echo of the anomaly's pulse. You act with understanding, you act with courage, you act with care. Humanity is ready to take the next step. The envoy spoke not in words, but in thought, projecting understanding directly into the minds of humans. You have shown the qualities that define a species worthy of growth beyond its home: courage, wisdom, restraint, cooperation, and the willingness to bear responsibility. The universe welcomes you as partners, not subjects. Humanity had succeeded, not by conquering, not by technology alone, but by acting with intelligence, care, and ethical judgment. Every choice, every compromise, every cooperative act had been measured and now recognized. The envoy continued, offering a vision of humanity's potential. Star systems connected through networks of knowledge, civilizations sharing resources and wisdom, planets stabilized through cooperation rather than domination. Humans saw a glimpse of a universe where species acted not in fear, not in greed, but with foresight, restraint, and collaboration. It was a future that had once seemed impossible, even improbable. Humanity had rebuilt Earth, survived crises, and mastered technology. But this moment, this true step into the cosmos, required something greater, the courage to act responsibly when faced with the unknown. Ilior realized that the anomaly, the guardians, and the alien observers had all been preparing humanity for this moment. Each challenge, every crisis, every subtle test in New Alexandria had been designed to teach them that strength without judgment is dangerous, but wisdom combined with courage can define a species. The envoy projected a final message, clear and resonant. The choice is yours. Humanity is now free to explore, learn, and grow among the stars. You are not perfect, but you are capable. Choose wisely, act responsibly, and you will thrive beyond your home world. Humans had rebuilt a fragile world, mastered technology, and survived threats to their existence. But now they had done something even greater. They had acted as a species capable of responsibility, understanding, and ethical judgment on a scale that stretched beyond their own planet. Mara stood beside him, smiling. "We did it," she said quietly. "Not just New Alexandria, not just Earth, humanity. We are capable of shaping our destiny, not just for ourselves, but for the universe we touch." Humanity had grown, and the Guardians, silent as ever, seemed to acknowledge that the species no longer required invisible guidance. In the days that followed, humanity began to explore the universe. Interstellar missions were launched, not as conquests, but as partnerships with other civilizations. Knowledge, culture, and cooperation spread. Humans carried with them the lessons learned from the anomaly, the Guardians, and the alien observation. They acted with care, courage, and responsibility, understanding that power without judgment could destroy as easily as it could create. Ilior watched the first interstellar fleet leave Earth. He felt the weight of centuries of human struggle and triumph. Humanity had survived plagues, climate collapse, wars, and the limits of technology, and now it had survived judgment from beyond its world, not by chance, not by force, but by acting with wisdom, courage, and cooperation. Mara joined him, looking at the departing ships. "We've come far," she said. "Yes," Ilior replied, "and we are only beginning." Humanity will continue to grow, to learn, and to explore. Not perfectly, but responsibly. Not without mistakes, but with courage. That is what makes us human. They were not invaders, nor subjects of alien power. They were partners in a vast, expanding universe. Ilior felt hope like never before. For centuries, humans had dreamed of reaching the stars. Now they had proven they were capable of more, of acting wisely, ethically, and courageously when the stakes were highest. The anomaly pulsed faintly one last time, a heartbeat echoing through the city, through the minds of humans, and into the vastness of space. It was a reminder that growth is not only about power or knowledge, but about the choices made when responsibility calls. And humanity finally had answered. The future beyond 2100 was no longer a dream. It was alive. It was real. And humans were ready to step into it, as creators, learners, explorers, and partners in the universe.